Well, there you are. That was Mantle Park, the quickest run they've ever seen on that Swedish track, coming from Great Britain's Andy Carter. Now, within a week, all the teams have to source parts from all over the world to get themselves ready to race in Norway at Gardemoen. A huge job on their hands, a lot of burning of the midnight oil. Let's see how they got on in Norway. Well, of course, this man from Great Britain is leading the championship. Andy Carter, the go-talk dragster. They've had a fabulous year so far. Is the luck going to continue for them? This is a Runa Field run car, and Andy has a super crew around him.
Plan for the Norwegian race is to get this go-talk dragster into the number one qualifying position and win the event and stretch out our points lead, so we really put pressure on the others going into Germany and the European finals at Sandapod.
Well, here we are then, round number 4 at Gardemoen in Norway. We're seeing some good times here in qualifying and some people coming to the top of the pile that haven't previously been there.
Yeah, it's really nice to see Thomas Latour's finally get down the racetrack, doing very, very well at his home race as well. Ran his first four at over 300 miles an hour. But the man that was number one qualifier in the Promised Dreams car, looking back at the first round here, Smack Smith, champion from last year. Nice to see him back on form again. He ran a 488, so getting back to where he used to be, and that's actually a personal best for Smacks as well. So those guys have got to be happy going into eliminations here in Norway.
Well, yeah, saving parts on that run, and why not? I mean, it's all part of the game of drag racing. The next pair that came out in the quarterfinals put Tommy Moller up against Göran Pashorka. An all-Swedish battle. And was it going to be Tommy Muller, who, of course, won the first round at Sandapod, was it going to be his experience telling over Göran Pashorka?
Well, basically, both of these guys are experienced at driving race cars. Tommy, as you can see there, went sideways, absolutely blew the tyres off. Göran with another round win. He's having a great first season, although he leaves a blowout lying on the track. Karina and the crew, very, very happy with that. 5.11, not too shabby considering the speed there because the belt came off before the finish line. So on to the next pair that came out. This is both of Runa Field's cars racing each other. In the left-hand lane, Andy Carter in the go-full car. Right-hand lane, Thomas Latour's, as we said before, run his first 4-second 300 miles an hour run. Now, Andy didn't have the weekend that he's accustomed to. Right down in the number 7 qualifying position. Both left the starting line together. Andy blew the tyres off, then blew the engine up, and on the other end of the racetrack, Thomas absolutely destroys one in the right-hand lane. As you can see, everybody very concerned they're looking on. Both left the starting line together. You see Andy go bang first there. Now, that's an explosion from the top and the bottom, so that's expensive. Thomas's starts to get lean on the top end, and hey presto, all the rods are seeing daylight. So that's going to be a lot of work for Runa Field's guys between rounds there, John.
Well, best ever time for Thomas Latour's on that run at 4.88, so well done to him. The final pair that came out put Lex Joen, again another rookie in Top Fuel, up against Michael Kagerad. Now, Kagerad was the number 3 qualifier here, running in the 4s. Lex Joen, 5.5 seconds was his qualifying run. So things not really going that well for Lex. And although both runs look very, very good, Mickey Kagerad took a nice win, and another 5-0 this time for Mickey. Just a little bit slower, but confines Lex Joen to the trailer and homeward moves. So this is how our semi-finals look. Göran Pashorka comes out against Smack Smith, and then Mickey Kagerad takes on Thomas Latour's. And it's to those two that we go first of all. We come bang up to date in the semis.
Yeah, you bet. Smack Smith in the right-hand lane, Göran Pashorka in the left-hand lane. Both of these cars owned by Knut Soderquist, and as is Mickey Kagerad's car and Lex Joen's car, as you've already mentioned. Now, Smacks is having a much better weekend this weekend. He had a championship year last year, his first ever season in Top Fuel, and he won the title. This year, he's struggled a bit. Nothing to do with the way that he's been driving the car or the way the team have been setting up. He just hasn't had the luck going with him, but he hopes to turn it around this weekend.
Göran's tough. He's done 5-5-0 passes back-to-back. Very reliable, but we are number 1 qualifier. I've had a personal best this weekend, 488, so I'm absolutely over the moon. Crew's done a fantastic job turning the car around. We, being number 1 qualifier, got a buy into the semis, so that was kind of a gift. Not taking anything for granted. I've just got to do my job. I've got to just pull it out of the hat for the guys, and we want to go into the finals.
So here we go then, up to the start line with these two. It should technically be a win for Smack Smith. He's the outgoing champion and certainly gets away first. This is looking good, but then, bang. Bang goes the engine. Hey, Darryl, that was so close.
Certainly was. 533 to 532. Look at the difference in the speed, nearly 100 kilometres an hour, which is about 60 miles an hour between the two different cars there. Smack Smith left him for dead on the starting line, but Euro made it up and went past him. So he's into the final against, by the looks of it, Mickey Kagarad.
Yes, we kicked out 2 rods on it, and it doesn't look good. So I think this is it for this event, because we burned all the way the wiring hardness and everything. So that's the problem.
So basically the engine, you could probably repair the engine or put another engine in the car, but it's all the wiring, all the other stuff that goes around it that's the problem, yeah?
That's correct. We got the engine parts and everything is okay, but there's a little bit too less time to fix all the wiring and stuff that burned away.
So here we are then, Mickey on a solo run. Unfortunate luck for Thomas Natours yet again. Now is Mickey going to be going for lane choice? Is that necessary here, do you think, Darryl?
Well, lane choice means that obviously the car that has the quickest elapsed time going into the next round will get to choose which lane, and that can be very important if the lanes are uneven, i.e. one's a bit slicker than the other. But here in Norway, the track's been really, really good, and Mickey Kagarad's been on a rail all weekend.
Yeah, it's really nice, and the car is working perfect. We did only a lunch just now, but the car is great just now.
Well, here we are. It's a remake of Sweden, isn't it? The final is set up. The 2 Knut Soderquist cars, Mickey Kagarad and Göran Pashorka once more. So here we go. Sweden, of course, the final went to Mickey Kagarad. Here, Göran Pashorka obviously going to be looking to get one back. Mickey is running so consistently.
He certainly is, and Göran Pashorka's in his 3rd final in a row. I mean, most of the other guys in the pits would be so envious of the position he's in, and he's in his 1st season. Another interesting note as well, Mickey's car is brand new for this season. The car he ran last year and finished 2nd in the championship in is the car that Göran Pashorka's in. So both of these cars have got a very, very good pedigree. Mickey's running to the 4.8s with his car. He ran 4.9s in the car that Göran Pashorka's driving this year. So basically, it's a gimme race. I mean, whoever gets down the track the best is going to do very well. It's going to be anyone's race, John.
Okay, well, Göran Pashorka's crew chief, Gary Page, of course, famous British driver, backing him up beyond the start line. They've done their burnouts, warmed up the compound in those rear tyres, and now they're fit to battle. And the 2 crew chiefs bring those 300-inch wheelbase cars up to the start line. What are we going to see here? Another win for Mickey Kagarad? Can Göran Pashorka get one back? Here we go. There's no building up the revs here. They come up to the start line very, very quiet, and then it's foot to the floor. Kagarad gets away first, and an engine explosion for Pashorka. It's Kagarad who takes yet another win. 5.2 to 5.76. Mickey Kagarad now has found that winning form. Surely he's going to go to the top of the championship pile.
Michael Kagarad, 2nd victory in a row.
It's really nice. It was a really shaky round. It was spinning the tires a lot, but still I'm winning. So I'm really happy. The car is excellent.
This is how it now looks. Mickey Kagarad goes to the top of the pile. Göran Pashorka stays in 2nd spot, but Great Britain's Andy Carter drops down to the number 3. Now we move on to the car. Now then, the Warriors are out once more. Michael Malmgren always has somebody who's going to worry him during the season. He never gets away with it cleanly. What are his thoughts as he comes here to Gardemoen for this round?
Well, there's only one thing. We need to win, and we need to set low ET. And so far, a little bit problem. Track was very slippy 1st round yesterday, and 2nd round, I guess we panicked, took out a little bit too much, and just drove through the clutch. So, but we have 2 more rounds today, and I feel pretty comfortable that we will run fast here in the last session.
Well, he certainly does need a comfort factor. This man is the man who's given him all the trouble in 2004. Jimmy Olin came on the scene 2003, and immediately you could sense that there was something about this guy that said, hey, I'm going to be a championship contender.
This run we should have improved on our qualifying time, actually, because it would have been like a 95, 96 somewhere, but I think one of the carburetors was flowing when I took it up on the rev limiter. it was missing, and it was dead when I left the line. It was going very slow before it picked up, so it would be definitely been a better run than that 701. So, but we'll take it next round, I guess.
Here we are then, round number 4, Gardemoen in Norway. Right next to the airport we are. Luckily, Daryl Bradford and I'm John Price, we're sitting in the nice, quiet, comfortable surroundings of our commentary box. Daryl, Jimmy Olin really is saying to Michael Malmgren now, I want your championship. He was the number 1 qualifier here.
Again, I mean, he's just had a phenomenal year. Last year was his first year in Pro Stock. This year, he couldn't do it any better, really. I mean, he's only actually had 1 loss so far this year. That was at the first round against Michael. Every other time, he's won. So, looking back at the first round, Eero Nishtila from Finland in the silver Firebird went up against the AC Delco Grand Am of Michael Malmgren. And as you can see, Eero Nishtila was out first. He's in front, and Michael suffers a really, really frustrating end to his weekend. He was number 4 qualifier, not quite used to being that far down the order, and Eero Nishtila makes the trip from Finland all the worthwhile. So real good weekend for him. Michael Malmgren, his championship hopes pretty much gone.
Indeed. That is a big, big shock for Michael to go out in the first round. Quite extraordinary. Right, the next pair that came out here put Jackie Hansen. Now, here's a man who is improving in leaps and bounds, up against the ex-Jari Connolly Dodge of Ulf Jonsson. And Jonsson gets away first, but Jackie Hansen in that opposing name, that's a General Motors Cavalier. He at least has a nice straight run. Ulf Jonsson's all over the place.
Yeah, poor Ulf Jonsson. I think the team were very, very happy to go home with the car in one piece after that one. When these cars start moving around on the top end, because there's such a short wheelbase, very, very tough to hang on to, but Ulf did the right thing, get off the throttle and pull the chutes, which actually is a very good safety measure because it pulls the cars down. So, next pair that came out, Joran Pershaker, jack of all trades, master of 2 actually, Top Fuel and Pro Stock, out here in the Pro Stocker, up against number 3 qualifier, Magnus Hansen.
Well, yeah, Hansen also, don't forget, is the number 3 man in the championship. And as far as Pro Stock cars goes, is the most experienced. But just watch what happens here. He gets to the top end first, but of course he's pulled a red light on the start line. So Joran Pershaker is having a fantastic weekend. He's through into the semi-finals. Extraordinary stuff.
Yeah, just the way to go racing. Running in Top Fuel and Pro Stock, if you're losing one, you've still got another car to play with. And actually, he did very well in Top Fuel this weekend too, so he had a great time. That man, Jimmy Olin, coming up against Kenneth Soderstrom, both in Firebirds, both running very, very well this weekend. Kenneth Soderstrom getting down to his personal best times. But, I mean, you couldn't really have a bigger mountain to climb. Not that Jimmy Olin's a very big mountain, but he's just doing so well. He whole shots Kenneth Soderstrom out in front the whole way down. John, what can you say?
Olin was the only one in the 60s during qualifying, of course, and here we are, just stamping his authority. Takes out Kenneth Soderstrom, and I rather think that the championship is heading the way of Jimmy Olin in 2004. Let's just have a look. Here's the semi-finals. It is Jimmy Olin against Eero Nishtila. We've seen them race a couple of times in the past, and Joran Pershaker takes on Jackie Hansen. But it's two. We come bang up to date to that first pair that we go.
Yeah, Eero Nishtila and Jimmy Olin have raced each other quite a few times, so they're almost old hands at it. Now, the reason that the Pro Stock cars, as you said, John, Jimmy Olin ran the only time in qualifying in the 6-second zone. Now, the cars have slowed down this weekend because they're carburetted and normally aspirated. They're very, very susceptible to weather changes. As you can see, if you look to the top of your picture, we hardly saw a cloud in Norway all weekend. It was very hot, very, very humid, so they weren't making as much horsepower, hence the ETs and the speeds drop off a bit. So because he was in the 7-second zone, doesn't mean that they're not competitive. They still go out and race their hearts out. It's just the ETs are slightly slower, that's all.
Yeah, indeed. So here we go then. Eero Nishtila coming into this round. He's sitting in the number 5 spot in the championship so far this year. This weekend he was the number 5 qualifier, but coming up against the man on such a roll here this weekend. Now they move up to the start line. Who's going to get away first? Well, there you are. Nishtila gets away first, but the reason he leaves on Jimmy Olin is the fact that he's put a red light on the tree. So Jimmy Olin, by default of Eero Nishtila, takes the win, 7.07.
Yeah, right now it seems like that we have like 6 rounds on Michael, almost 6 rounds, and we have two more races to go. So what I need to do basically is qualify at those races and win 1 round, I guess.
Wish you good luck.
All right. Yes.
Great stuff. Well, the championship in his bag? I think it is now. Here's our second semi-final pair.
Yeah, Joran Pashorka in the left-hand lane in the Dodge Avenger, up against Jackie Hansen in the GM Cavalier in the right-hand lane. Both of these guys having pretty good weekends. Jackie Hansen really getting a hang of it in his first year back in Pro Stock in a long while. This car had a very good pedigree when it was run in the States. He hasn't quite made it into the 6-second bracket this weekend, or this season in fact, but he's not far off, and 7.0s look like they might cut it this weekend. And let's hear from Joran.
I hope I win, but he is faster, so he should win. But the crisp machine, the reaction time is very important in Pro Stock.
Well, you were the benefit of a red light in the first round from Magnus Hansen.
Yes, he did red light, and it was also Magnus' birthday today, but I didn't know. And he red light, and I did win.
So his birthday present was you winning?
Oh yes, a little wrong, but you know.
The wrong way round.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. I don't know whether we should be singing happy birthday to Magnus Hansen or not. But these two certainly coming up to the start line here. We don't often see these two get this far along in the eliminations. But it's a red light. Well, there you are, Darryl.
Joran Pashorka was talking about, I bet Magnus Hansen sitting there in the pits wishing he'd done that a round before, because then he would have got a birthday present off of Joran. But Jackie Hansen goes to his first final in Pro Stock in 2004.
It's the first time we had the right precision at the clutch, so we are very happy. And my crew worked a lot yesterday because we had some damage at one of our pistons in the engine, so we had worked a lot in the night, so we are so pleased you don't believe it.
Well, this sets up the final then. There we are, Jackie Hansen in the final, but up against Jimmy Oland, and Oland is the man to beat at the moment. Here he is, going with that burnout. So what we've got here is a pair of General Motors muscle cars, but one is a Cavalier, one is a Firebird. So Pontiac and Chevrolet coming head-to-head. Now then, it's going to be an interesting final. Hansen's found form, so let's talk to him first.
Jimmy Olon, yeah, he's a good driver and is championship leader also, so if we should have a try, we must take him out now, and hopefully we will do that.
We've been working all night. I'm exhausted. And on top of that, they oiled the track the half of the day, so now it's been really hectic between rounds. And I'm tired, and it's warm. I mean, it's really warm, you can see that. So one more run, and everybody's working great. And we've been the fastest car down the racetrack every run so far with the spare engine, so I'm happy with that.
Well, I don't know about predictions here, Darryl. What do you think?
Well, it could go either way. Jackie Hansen getting a bit squirrely off the line there. We know that Jimmy Oland left first, and he gets there first as well. Oh, what a season he's having. Jackie Hansen took his best shot, ran 0.04 of a second quicker, but Jimmy Oland, when it's your weekend, it's your weekend. When it's your year, it's your year. And Jimmy Oland, even though he's on his spare engine, can't put a foot wrong.
It's totally unbelievable. We had to work hard for this one, I tell you that, because we had the spare engine in, and they oiled the track so bad in the morning, so it was really little time between rounds. And this heat, it kills us. But we did it, and it's wonderful. And I think we locked up the championship pretty good now. We got 7 rounds, so we won it.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you. Woo-hoo!
Well, all he has to do is to show up at the next round at Hockenheim in Germany, and he's won the championship. He leads it now. Michael Malmgren's still there in second spot. Jackie Hansen moves up to third. It's top funny car. You know, it must be worrying for this man, the Midland Oils sponsored Pontiac Firebird of Urs Urbacher from Switzerland. He was the 2003 champion, and coming into this round at Gardemoen, he was leading the Top Methanol Funny Car Championship, but only just. Has he got a plan in mind to keep the championship live this weekend?
We're running qualifying number 1, only 200s behind Ulf, so we step up today and go a little bit faster.
Here we are then, round number 4, Gardemoen in Norway. The racetrack that's right next door to the international airport, so you have a mix of race cars and aircraft. And we're going to be looking back at the quarterfinals of Top Methanol Funny Car. This is how it looks. Leanders against Grodem, Anderson against Larson, and finally Urbacher, the champion, coming into this round up against Leif Andreasen. So we went to look at the first pair, which put Arvid Brodin. Remembering that Arvid had a year sabbatical and came back, did very, very well earlier on this season. But he's got to try and find 4/10 against the Ironcad man, and it just was not in his race car. Leanders took a very, very convincing win in the 5.7s again. Remember, he qualified with a 5.7, and Leanders looks good at this particular meeting. Nicholas Anderson, another young driver who's doing well this year, comes up against Dan Larsen in the Boxster Dodge Avenger. Now, Larsen's year has not been good this year, and it certainly didn't get any better with this run. Went up in smoke on the start line, and Anderson, Nicholas Anderson, for the Mickey Kagarad team, the Samflex car, took a very convincing win in the 5s at 5.90. The final pair. This was going to be an interesting one. As Leif Andreasen finally cured all the gremlins that had confronted that Dodge Stratos in 2004, and was he going to be able to take out the champion? Here's the answer. It was a definitive no. Erderbacher got away first and just did not look back. Andreasen charged really hard, but Erderbacher took the win and took him into the semi-finals, and the faces on the Andreasen team told the story. Semi-finals then, that's where we are now. We're bang up today. Ulf Leanders gets a bye into the final. Nicholas Anderson has to battle it out with last year's champion, Urs Erderbacher. So here we come. Now, here in Gardemoen, lane choice could well be important. There's been a lot of oil downs over the weekend, and certainly the team crew chiefs could well be thinking the left lane is better, the right lane is better. So it makes sense not for an easy pass here in the bye run into the final for Ulf Leanders, but he is going to try and look for another 5-second run to try and get lane choice for the final. So up to the start line. Beautiful Ford Mondeo. Very little in the way of wing on the back of this car. That's the one thing that's always puzzled me with Ulf Leanders and his brother Jorgen's car. They have very, very little wing on the back, whereas everybody else either has tail fins or huge wings on the back. It doesn't seem to bother him on the run, though. Here he goes, looking for lane choice. Wow, cracks off a beautiful 5.91.
That was an easy victory. The car didn't run as we expected. It did at 91, but we're gonna make some changes and do some things before the finals against Urs, and I hope for a very good and interesting final.
Wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, certainly he needs to step up if he's going to come up against the winner of these two, either Urs Erderbacher or, of course, Nicholas Anderson. And as we're watching Erderbacher burn out here, the Pontiac Firebird reaches the end of the burnout. Up comes the escape hatch to let out all that burnout smoke. Nicholas Anderson still has problems here on the start line. Now, the crew are working feverishly around Anderson's car, and there may well be a problem.
Yeah, we have some problems with the engine, and this is the crank som is the problems just now. So this weekend is over just now, so we must looking to Hockenheim, so beat them there.
So you think that, so that's it for the weekend. I mean, unfortunately you've used a lot of parts this weekend. Do you think you'll be back on form again in Hockenheim?
Yeah, we're there.
Well, what rotten luck for Nicholas Anderson. Things have been going so well in 2004. So this really isn't going to be a race. I just wonder whether Urs Erderbacher is going to be looking for lane choice. We've seen Ulf Leanders put down a 5.91. Now then, with Nicholas Anderson is just staging for points. Providing you cross the start line under your own power, then you get the points from that round. And because it is so tight at the top of Top Methanol Funny Car, that every point counts.
I feel spinning the tires, so I know Nicholas has broken, so I make a safe one. We are in the finals now. That's important.
Wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, this gives us our final then. Ulf Leanders, currently number 3 in the championship after the Swedish round, but he's only 23 points behind the leader of the championship, Urs Urbach. Firebird meets Mondeo, and that does look quite spectacular when Ulf Leanders brings the Mondeo to a halt. Almost looks as though it's a rock and roll effect with dry ice smoke coming out from underneath it, from all angles really. But what that is, of course, is the burnout smoke. The guys have come out here, they've heated up the compound in those huge rear slicks. They put down rubber lines across the start line, so they've got warm tacky rubber in the rear tyres, warm tacky rubber on the track, and that gives them traction away from the start line. This is a critical race for the championship here. Make no mistake about that. Iron Cad against the Midland Oils car, and can Urs Urbacher really pull one off here? Remember, of course, Urbacher wasn't the number one qualifier here this weekend. The crew chiefs bring the cars right up to the start line. They start barking at one another, clearing the throats of these methanol cars. Then they increase the revs, ease right into full stage. This is the critical part here. This could be won and lost on the start line. These two are running almost identically this year. Here we go. The lights burn down, and almost simultaneous start line lead for the two cars. An explosion for Leanders. Urbacher had been all over the track, but Leanders takes the win with a 5.94. That explosion didn't slow him down at all.
Seems like we took him out. He has to have some big problems because we also had some big problems. The thing got on fire for a while there, and I think we hurt the motor pretty bad. But we have a couple of weeks now to get ready for Germany, and it feels good right now, but you know, it's a lot of money on stake. That's the way it is.
Well, this is now how it looks. Leanders, from being in the number 3 spot coming here to Gardemoen, suddenly finds himself in the lead, 4 points in front of last year's champion, Urs Urbacher. Next, it's Top Methanol Dragster. Well, we've had all the champions here, really. We've had the 2003 champion, which was Dave Wilson. Peter Schurfer was the 2002 champ. This man from Great Britain was the champion in 2001. The Netcall Telecom car of the Turner family, driver Rob, is the man who controls this machine. And what are his thoughts for this weekend?
So far we're qualified 3. We're not happy with how the car's performing, but we're making moves in the right direction and getting good data on the computer that we can work with.
Well, here we are then, round number 4. Dave Wilson, number 1 qualifier here this weekend, comes up against Krista Johansson, and Rob Turner, who's the number 3 man, comes up against the number 2 qualifier, Peter Schurfer. That's in the semi-finals. So first of all, we turn our attention to Great Britain against Germany, and on preceding form, Peter Schurfer must be the safe bet if you're having a little flutter on the side here. The 3 top contenders qualified within 0.2 of a second of one another. So this really could be absolutely anybody's race. Schurfer against Turner. Schurfer number 2 in the championship this year, Turner number 3. So this is going to be quite critical. Rob Turner hasn't done all the rounds. Remember, he had that huge methanol fire at the main event. And away they go. It's Turner out of the traps first. Hey, look how close that is. Rob Turner takes a win at long, long last, and bang on form as well, a 5.56.
We were struggling all through qualifying, but it's come together on race day. The unfortunate thing, we had a problem with the race radios, and Steve forgot to switch the computer on, so we don't have any data on that run.
Well, it's so unusual for Steve Turner, Rob's brother, who's the crew chief on his car, to make any mistake at all. There's such a together squad. But it's great to know that the Netcall Telecom car is in the final. We're going to be meeting one of these two. Dave Wilson in the American car imports dragster, and this man, Krista Johansson from Sweden. Now, when I first came into the sport back in the 1980s, Krista was the man to beat. He was the scourge of the British top methanol drivers. Here, he's driving a unique type of car. This runs on nitromethane but doesn't have a supercharger. So that gives him an equal footing to the top methanol supercharged cars of Dave Wilson and Peter Schurfer and Rob Turner. He's still developing this car, and things don't always run according to plan. So let's just have a look and see how we do here. Technically, it should be Wilson who gets away first, as he does, and you can see the unburnt fuel coming out of the exhaust headers of the car in the left-hand lane. That means it wasn't firing correctly, and Dave Wilson takes the win.
Your good friend Rob Turner took out one of your worst opponents in the point standings at the moment.
Yeah, Rob did us a real big favour. I'm sure he wasn't doing it for us, but good luck to him. They've been trying to get that car running last couple of weeks, and they look like they've succeeded.
Well, the next round is the final, ladies and gentlemen, and what an interesting final for Gardemoen in Norway, because it's not Dave Wilson against Peter Schurfer, it's Dave Wilson against Rob Turner. There's the burnout from Dave Wilson. Here comes Rob Turner. Now, both of these cars this weekend, remember that Dave Wilson was the #1 qualifier running 5.50. Rob Turner was just a wee bit behind him at 5.67 coming into this race. They virtually ran the same times.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be in a final again. It's actually 14 races Peter's been in the final, so we're really happy to be there. But unfortunately, we had a problem in the first round with the race radios, and through that it put Steve's routine out and forgot to put the computer on, so we haven't got any run data.
It's going to be so interesting then. Both the guys running almost identical times. Start line reaction, therefore, is going to be all important. If Rob Turner takes the win here, that is going to be something so hard for Dave Wilson to take. Steve Turner just says, yep, you've got to go for it, brother Rob. Up to the start line then. Now we're going to watch this with a great deal of interest. Up come the revs from these two methanol burners. Into the staging bins. Dave Wilson, whole shots, Rob Turner. He's out in front. Whoa, that was close. That was close. A 5.52 to a 5.62. Rob Turner so consistent all weekend, but couldn't beat Dave Wilson.
It was a long time sitting in the cars down there, and Rob had a lot of clean-up in his lane. I don't know whether that affected anything. I think we dropped off a little bit from what we run before, but looked like it was good enough.
Well, at the end of this Norway round, Dave Wilson's lead increases over Peter Schurfer. That's going to be an important lead for him.